Pressure's on now, 1 minute to go. Making sure we got sound tonight.
You have learned much, young one.
Megtooth Sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, rust it, swing it, bash it. Megtooth Sabers.
We're live. Hey everybody, great to see you. Got a lot planned for tonight, got a lot ready to go on the bench back here. And I'm going to change camera scenes here real quick. It's good to see y'all, and hopefully we get some more viewers tonight. And if not, hopefully more can tune in afterwards when this is all done, because I think this will be pretty productive for a lot of people. I get a lot of questions, or see a lot of questions about these Shtok Pixel connectors, and we're going to wire one up tonight, including the SMD resistor for independent data on the accent pixels. A lot of people want to wire them in parallel or just get them to do the same thing the blade's doing. Always program mine as an independent blade, and there's just one specific reason that I do that, but mainly to get a battery meter going in the connector. But aside from that, I mean, it'll basically run the same blade style that the main blade runs, and it'll be on when the main blade's on. And for those of y'all that don't know, this is for, we've been talking about this the last few weeks. This is for this LGT PL Saber. That's a very special install for somebody special to me. And that's why I got it wrapped up there. I want to keep that under wraps so that it doesn't get seen. So I won't talk about the name of the Saber, but that way y'all know what it is. This is for the PL Saber. But we're getting ready to get going. Oh, hey, Cole's not getting his steps in. Well, Cole, we're getting ready to do a soldering demonstration. So before we go to the soldering demonstration, oh yeah, it's getting better. Before we go to the soldering demonstration, because I don't want to let y'all watch when I'm moving the camera, I don't want y'all to see it because it'll make you seasick. So I'm going to go to Windows Share, and we're going to go watch Fernando's. We're not going to watch that. We're going to watch Fernando's video, which, by the way, Fernando's not on right now, but I know where he's at, and he's not in a good place right now. He's in Dark Saber land. But at any rate, this is Fernando's video. I didn't play it from the beginning last week, so here it is, and hopefully y'all have audio. I'll come and check and make sure y'all have audio. Bam. Y'all should have Fernando talking now, and I'm going to get rid of me, and I'll bring me back on here in a minute.
To enable battle mode, you can either just swing your blade on.
Fernando.
If you use swing on, battle mode is automatically engaged. This is just to make it really easy to activate. You can deactivate battle mode anytime you want by holding the aux button and swinging, and it'll play a force sound. So So I get my force sound active. So the idea is if you were actually in a battle and you wanted to either activate or deactivate, you would just hold the aux button and swing. Now that time, because I swung on, I deactivated it. To reactivate it, you can either retract your blade or you can do hold aux and swing again. So I've got my battle mode reactivated. While in battle mode, you do have the clash versus lockup. Basically, in battle mode, everything is supposed to be basically controlled just by gestures, so you don't have to worry about buttons. So your clash versus your lockup is depending on when you hit an object, what happens with the blade. So if you hit an object and pull away, you get a clash effect. If you hit an object and stay, you get your lockup, and that lockup stays active. Now you can move your blade like you're battling, but if you pull away, when you pull away, it deactivates. So it's all gesture controlled. There's no buttons. I've also now added drag and melt as part of battle mode. So typically, if you have your blade below and you do a clash for lockup, holding your button, you get a drag effect. But when you're actually dueling, and even in the films, there are times where you're going.
All right, hopefully y'all got me back now on audio. And so, here's what I got planned for tonight. Got a lot of stuff here. Number one, you're going to need a 603 resistor kit. This one's from China. But these 60603 resistors, they're really small. And tonight we're going to be using a 330 ohm resistor, so y'all can see it there. And I'm going to get that out. I'm going to zoom in on it and magnify it. But you can use 510 ohms too. It really doesn't matter. This is data line resist. All it is signal stabilization. Of course, we've got our Shtok NeoPixel connector assembly, and this is just the filter that goes on top, and I'm going to place that over there. And here's what the Shtok connector looks like. Now, this one is a short pin connector. Excellent. Glad you guys are hearing me. This one is a short pin connector, and this is just a holder that goes inside the Saber, so I'm going to set that aside. And this is the back side, and this is what we'll be working on tonight under scope. So I'm going to get this under scope so y'all all can see it, and hopefully that'll be cool. If we get the hilt connector done, and I've got wires set down for it and everything already, we're also going to wire a speaker, and actually going to have to get a new Smuggler's Outpost speaker out, because that is not a Smuggler's Outpost. We're going to wire a Smuggler's Outpost speaker, and we're going to be getting that ready to install on the chassis. We'll also we'll solder the wires on the battery clips on the negative and positive, and we'll feed everything in here where the propie's going. Last week I did a video showing how I solder the switches and put the switches on and test the switches. But Melissa, this is going to be a lot of small stuff tonight. I see you joined us. I see that you are here, and we're on here. Hey Max, habla español usted? This isn't organized. But at any rate, we'll solder the battery terminals on, we'll solder the speaker in, so that way we're pretty much ready for install. So kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do with these Monday Megtooth Lives is I'll take you along on the path of an install. And so we're going to install the LGT Princess Leia, while we're at it here. Also tonight, I'm going to use my Prism test board to test the NeoPixel accents and make sure that we're good there. One of the most important things that I didn't, and by the way, I'm going to use the test plug, so I'm going to solder that onto my negative positive leads on the NeoPixel connector, and the data going to data 2, which is going to feed my NeoPixels, and of course this plugs into my test rig. And I get these plugs when I make NeoPixel blades. I just cut them off the NeoPixel blades and reuse them. This is my Prism 5.5 test board. Y'all have seen it in a lot of my videos like blade building, etc. I use it all the time. Stand by. Yeah, hablo un poquito español, Israel. Solamente un poquito. All right, let's see here. instructions. Now, I'm also going to share this on the web for those of y'all that don't know. By the way, we're doing V4 wiring tonight, and I want to go to Windows Share and go to the instruction manual. So anytime that I'm building something, I always go to the instruction manual, and this is the instruction manual for the Shtok Custom Works, that we're going to be building these Shtok Custom Works lit connectors. And here on this page, he's describing what you need to do to make them work. So I want my blade and PCB LEDs independent. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to solder a resistor here on data 2. This is what you're going to see tonight. So this is the 0603 resistor that we're going to solder in this footprint. We're then going to solder our brown data line onto this data. And then we're going to run a positive line off this and a negative line off that. And we're going to run our main blade data, which is going to be purple, off this. So this will be purple, brown, red, and black on my negative. That's what we're going to be doing tonight when we do this. And then we're going to test it on the blade connector. Ron, I had a problem with the stream. Guess my internet's acting up again. So the stream quit. Stand by. Well, something happened. Everybody stand by. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Hopefully we're back. Still have audio. Hopefully you'll have video here in a second. All right. So, hopefully we've got you guys now. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be soldering this 0603 resistor on this footprint, a brown wire here on data 2, and then we're going to put a red wire here on a positive, a black wire on any of these negatives. I'm using 22 gauge PTFE on the positive and negative. I'm using 30 for my data. And then we're going to put a purple wire on the main data for the main blade. So that's the goal tonight. We're going to do this under scope, so y'all are going to have a zoomed in view, but I wanted you to see kind of what we were doing. Well, good, Melissa. We're getting ready to go under scope here, so stand by. I'm going to go to Windows Share and see if that is going to be in the way. And we don't want that one, we want this one. And let's go to full screen. I'm hoping you guys are seeing that. And I'm going to be away from chat a minute here. I'm not going to be able to see y'all's chat, but we're zooming in here on the microscope. So I just want y'all to realize I'm not going to be able to see chat. So I'm going to get to go here. I'm going to be soldering, and I'll try to catch up on the chat when I'm done soldering. But here we go. Let's go full screen so you guys can see what we're doing. Let me get all this other camera mumbo jumbo out of the way. So this is the Shtok Connector. And in the instruction manual, you saw we need to put a resistor here and here to bridge these two pads here and here. And then we're going to be putting our data 2 line here on this pad. So what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to get a resistor out of here. So these things are uber small, Melissa, and I'll actually zoom in on it once I get it out of here. But that thing is uber tiny. I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to take this camera off, and I'm going to zoom in on it. Sorry for the shakiness, guys. Stand by. Oh. Let me find it. Ah, there it is. So that thing is uber tiny, but that's a 331 ohm 0603 resistor. Now I'm going to take the camera back up to its normal position and focus on it so you can see how small that resistor is. Stand by, I'm focusing. Focus you back. For those of you guys that watch AV, I'm a huge AV fan. All right, let me see if I can find where I'm at in the frame here and move this resistor back in the frame. So this resistor is actually between my tweezers right now. And I hope y'all can see how small my tweezers are. I can put my fingernail in there. That's my finger, dirty finger. But that's how small these resistors are. And we're getting ready to solder this puppy on here. So the first thing I do is, number one, make sure I got a very, very clean soldering tip. I'm going to come check the chat here in a second after we solder this resistor on. And hopefully we haven't lost you guys. But the first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of solder on one of the pads. And y'all didn't see that. I put a little bit of solder on this pad right here. I'm sorry it was out of frame when that happened, but we're getting ready to rock and roll here. I want to make sure this is in frame. So again, we're going to be connecting this resistor here. Let me make sure we still got the stream up because I'm having issues. All right, stream still appears to be up. So sweet. Trying to catch up a little bit on chat. And let's go back to the microscope. And let's go back full screen. I just wanted to make sure that the chat was still up. So let me get this under the scope and make sure we're still good there. And then I'm going to grab this resistor with my tweezers, and I'm going to come in for the kill here. Hopefully you guys can see this. These things are so tiny. They're a pain to solder, even a bigger pain when you're trying to do it live. But usually what I do is, I should have taped this thing down. You see my shaky hands. There we go. And I'm gonna all right. So let me get us back in view here. We're lost. There it is. So I got one edge of that thing soldered. Now we're going to come in on the other edge here and we'll finish this up. And I don't want a whole lot of solder going on here. That's too much solder. All right, got that out of there. Now that we got that, hopefully my seam is still showing. And I'm going to bring in my multimeter that just crashed the party. And I'm going to put my multimeter in continuity mode. And I'm going to test this thing. So hopefully y'all can still see me here in the big screen. I'm off the microscope, but I think I shared the screen that shows the big screen too. And I'm going to check this thing for continuity and make sure that I got the Nope, I got it. 328 ohms. Bada bing. So we're good. Let's put this puppy back under scope. Hopefully y'all are still with me. I guess I should go check. Make sure the stream hasn't dropped off. Looks like we're still good. And we're still good there, trying to catch up on. Soldering irons on 360 Celsius max. Yeah, you can do it with a hot air gun. I've never done it with hot air, but at any rate, sorry for my shaky hands. Normally I don't do this under a scope. I do it with my naked eyes, but trying to do it for y'all's benefit. All right, we're going back under scope. So let's maximize this so you guys can see it. And let's get this thing in frame. And now we're going to butter up our data 2 pad. And look at all that flux all over the place. That flux is bad. And we definitely want to clean that up. But right now I'm going to tin my pad. Boom. There's our tad pin, our pad tin. And now I'm going to prepare our data wire. And this is going to be the data for the accent neopixels on the actual, hopefully y'all can see what's going on here. And I'm going to tin this data wire, and hopefully y'all see me coming for the kill here in a second. Yeah, well, I'm not running the vent tonight. I want you guys to see this. So let me make sure that data line is in frame. And I'll show you all this when I clean it up too, because all that flux looks really nasty on it under magnification. But it doesn't look that bad in person, but under magnification it looks like shit. So here we go. We're coming in for the kill on my data line. I really should take that down. Bam. All right, that solder flowed on the data line. So hopefully you can see that. And it looks like I need to snippy. There you go. So I need to clean that up. I need Q-tips. I don't have any Q-tips here. We'll clean it up later. Let's go ahead and add my main neopixel line. So I'm going to go ahead and strip that. This is from my main data for the main blade. I'm running 30 here, PTFE. By the way, this is PTFE wire that I'm running. There we go. And of course, the data line on these Shtok connectors, they hook right onto the center pin. So data on these Shtok connectors is right there. The very center pin, you can see it says D1 right there. Although it's upside down for y'all, so stand by. There. Now hopefully y'all can see that that center one is D1. And I'm going to have to get our wire out of the way, because that's going to be mono on the way. All right, so I'm dipping in flux, and now I'm buttering up my iron. I hate these new tips that I got. They suck. And come in for the kill here. Oops, I need to trim that. That's too long. You know, a big mistake a lot of guys make is they just leave too much wire exposed, and that creates issues. So now I'm going to come in here, you see my shaking hands, and boom, in for the kill. That's a good deal there. Now I'm using single strand. You can use double 26, but I just use single 22 gauge. And I'm going to strip just the right amount that I need. And positive, I'm going to try to get my positive in frame, is right there, right under the T of hilt is where I'm going on this sucker. And, you know, by the way, what I plan on showing is, you know, before we install the propy, and I plan on showing that on a live vid too. I think what I'm going to do, there. And then now I need to do one of the negatives. So let me get my negative wire out. Not speaker wires yet. We're not ready for you yet. And the negative is going to go on the inner circle on the pin right next to the data line that we just soldered. And that's where our negative is going to go. So I'll try and catch up on chat as soon as we finish soldering this sucker together. But yeah, I figured what we're going to do is on these Monday live vids, instead of just sitting here yapping all the time, I'm actually going to, you know, try to do something productive where we're actually making a lightsaber or something. So that's what we're doing. I think this is a better use of our time. Let's see if I can get you guys in frame. So I'm coming to that negative right there. And hopefully you guys are going to see this. Man. So there's all our wires hooked up on this thing. And let's change camera views. So we're going to get out of the scope. Hopefully that's the last of the scope tonight. And let's go back to the scene, full scene. And we'll bring this connector back in. So here we go. Here's the connector. Hopefully it focuses. Focus yet, back. Come on. That's 22 gauge for positive and negative, Max. 22 is what I run on positive and negative. But there's all our wires soldered on. The brown goes to our data 2. The purple goes to our main blade data. Black and red are power and return. The whole kit and caboodle. And I only run one wire. Makes life easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the, bring this camera in closer so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to strip the wires that we're going to, where's my strippers? There they are. 22. Bam. 22. And I'm going to dip that in some flux. And I'm going to pre-tin that one with some solder. And I'm not running the fan tonight because I didn't want it interfering with the audio. All right, so there's our black wire pre-tinned. I'll show you why I'm doing this in a second because we're actually going to test this connector live. Watch it be an ultimate fail. You know, it's like Fernando Joe Brown. You know, when you're doing live videos, everything goes wrong. So I'm going to pre-tin my positive wire now. And then my brown wire is going to the NeoPixel accents on the Shtok connector. So that's the one data I'm going to wire. I'm actually not going to test the main data line tonight, but I will. You should never test the main data line. By the way, I'm using 30 here for data. You can use 28, you can use 30, you can use 26, you can use whatever you want for data. It really doesn't matter. It's not carrying any amps. But I'll go ahead and pre-tin my data wire here. And I'll show you guys what I'm doing. You guys are probably like, why are you pre-tinning these wires? The thing ain't even installed in the Saber yet, because I'm crazy about testing. I like to test everything. So the reason I pre-tin those is because I'm actually going to put them on a plug. So these are these plugs that there it is. All right, let's go back to the stream. Of course, tonight we're going to have problems with IBCam. All right, we're back online, hopefully. All right, so these are these plugs, and I cut these off of NeoPixels, and I use these plugs to test. So I'm going to do a quick and dirty solder here, and I'm not even going to use shrink on these because this is just for testing. I should bring helping hands in here. Probably it would make life easier, right? And I'm going to clip the red into a helping hand. And of course, everything's in the way now, but y'all see, this really is. Get my forceps out. If y'all have watched any of my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of forceps because I can basically steady my hand on the bench and hold the wire into the helping hands like this. Bam. So we got a good solder there. And now we need our purple data line. I'm sorry, the brown data line, not the purple one. Because we're testing the onboard pixels on the Shtok connector. And we'll solder the data line. Now this is precarious because I'm not using shrink. You just have to make sure you keep these 3 wires separate as you're testing, so you don't get any shorts and screw up your expensive connector. But we're just going to test this thing real quick. Hey, come on now. You were looking like you were going to go, and then you didn't. Of course, it would help if I would stop moving. Bam. Okay, so now our NeoPixel test rig connector is on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure all these wires are separate. You don't want these separate. I don't have a manual focus feature on this camera, Melissa. All right, so now we're going to bring in our Prism test rig. Stand by, everybody. And I'm going to hook up my test rig to a battery off camera. I don't think you guys are going to see that. You should hear it boot. Oh, it booted. Now we're going to plug in our NeoPixel connector, and we're going to ignite. Bam. I'll try, Melissa. Israel, Melissa, ojos, or sí, ojos, no funcional. I don't know the word for blind in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice blind in Spanish? Oh, hey, Birch. Oh, you may begin. But at any rate, so there's the Shtok connector we just wired. It's working. So the connector works. Bada bing, bada boom. So we're going to take the connector out of the way because we're moving on. We've done the connector. Now we're going to move on to brighter pastures. So the connector works. Isn't that awesome, everybody? I see Birch just showed up. That's awesome. Hey, Birch. And now we've soldered up the connector in V4 using the instruction manual. The instruction manual is very important. And now we're going to do a little bit of chassis work tonight. This chassis for the PL Saber is from Smuggler's Outpost. This one was actually a Sotomayor deal here, and I'm going to solder our feed wires onto here and roughen up the surface with tweezers so it'll take the solder better. And put a little bit of goop on here. A little bit of goop. A little bit of goop. Should do this under scope, huh? So you guys can see this. Let me try to do this under scope. This one's pretty easy. Stand by. All right, let's go under scope, but I need to share the screen. So let me go to Windows Share, and then we're going to go to Scope. And now I need to focus. See, Melissa, I do have manual focus on my scope. So let's focus in on that. You can see where I scratched her up, and I've applied some flux in there. And now I'm going to take my 22 gauge positive leader that's going to connect to my NeoPixel positive eventually, and then I'll run a pigtail of smaller gauge up to my soundboard. I'll explain all that when we get to it. But right now I'm stripping, I don't know if y'all can see that in the little view on the right, because I'm pretty sure y'all have, let me maximize this so this is bigger. Make it bigger so you guys can see it. Bam! Bigger. Alright, so now what I'm doing here is I'm pre-tinning this wire, and I'm going to try and pre-tin the battery connector here. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to heat this sucker up, and I'm applying a good bead of solder in there. Now, I'm going to come on in here for the kill. Bam. Let that cool good, because it's a bigger piece of metal, so it needs to cool, and I just scorched my, you can see I scorched my thing. Oh, well, who cares, right? It's all in the name of saber building. And then, if y'all watch, then I'm feeding that positive wire into where the soundboard's going to go, and I'm going to drop this positive contact into the chassis. Now let's take out our negative one, and we're going to do the same. We're going to scratch up this negative one with, let's scratch her up with tweezers. And I'm going to scratch up the bottom of this thing because I think the wire feed is at the bottom. That chrome finish, you just want to rough that up. Sandpaper or whatever, hobby, like I have a dull hobby knife. I should have got that out first time. And I'll sit there and score it up. When you score it up, it gives the solder more, surface area to adhere to there. But, you can use sandpaper or emery board. And I'm going to put some flux on that sucker. Now let's go back under the scope. I'm going to have to change the zoom because this thing's not wanting to sit flush. Stand by. Let me bring in the helping hands. Let's see if I can get this to work with the helping hands. The helping hands are really going to be in my way when I go to solder. Stand by. Trying to get y'all a view of this under the scope, and I'm going to have to zoom out here. Stand by. And you can see that surface that I've scratched up. And we're going to put the negative wire on there. So right now, if you're still watching in this camera, I'm going to get my negative wire that I had laid out, and we're going to strip it, twist it, dip it, tin it. It's like a robot. I remember when Shamim was trying to make that saying, he was like, grip it, strip it, dip it, tin it, pin it. And I was like, Shamim, you're so funny. He would be singing to himself while he was blowing sabers. I'm talking to you guys. I don't even know if the thing's still on, but I'm talking to you guys anyway. Hopefully this doesn't. I gotta squeeze my hand past here in the tweezers, and I didn't pre-tin that surface, so let's come in here and pre-tin that with a lot of solder, a lot of heat. Now we gotta hold that on there till it cools. Hopefully that's not a cold joint. Can't tell yet. Yeah, it looks okay. It's not the best joint in the world, but let's go back to Melissa's like, I can't see any of this stuff. Yeah, this is for the battery. This is the battery contact. So now let's go back to the main camera, and you'll be able to see me putting this sucker into the chassis. Yeah, this is for the battery. So I'm going to unclip my hemostats from there. I'm going to feed this wire. This is eventually going to be our, coffee board negative. And I'm going to slide that contact that we just soldered right into the chassis, just like so. And she don't want to go. She don't want to go because I put too much solder on that probably. Well, nothing that a little bit of brute force can't fix, right? So yeah, there's the wire for your negative, and also my speaker wires are going to be running in there as well. And we're going to solder up the speaker here in a second. But I'll show you what a battery looks like when it's in there. I can use my test battery. Stand by. So here's the test battery, and we're going to slide it in there. And there we go. And here's what we can do. I'm going to do what Mad Cow says never to do, which is to leave, wire stripped in on a battery, but, whatever. We're going to put this sucker on a multimeter and make sure we got juice going there. So you get my alligator clips put back on my multimeter. I test everything. I know you guys probably think I'm crazy, but that's why it takes me so long to build a saber is I test. I just keep testing. And no, this is an 18650 by Keep Power. So I'm going to put in my negative alligator clip on that wire, and I'm going to put my positive clip onto this wire. And we'll see if I did it right. So I'm going to turn on my old multimeter, and we'll throw it to 9 volts. And you see there I'm showing 4.17 volts. So bada bing. Mission success. We have good battery contact. We've got electricity flowing through there. So basically what y'all have been watching over the course of the last 2 Megtooth Monday Lives, of course I've got my switches soldered in here. The glue is drying on the switches. And now we have our positive and negative feeds. Now this will connect to the NeoPixel with a pigtail going up to the proppy. This will connect to positive NeoPixel with a pigtail coming up to the proppy on this that we wired tonight. This positive line will connect to this positive line. This black line will connect to this white line, and then I'll run a pigtail off both the negative and positive going up to the soundboard. But basically tonight what's happening is you're watching a chassis being built live. So the wires that are going to feed my proppy, so there's my switch wires, my auxiliary power, and my ground for both switches are right there in that bundle. This is my battery negative, this is my battery positive, and they're all up here in the space where the proppy is going to rest. Battery goes here, speaker goes in here. Speaking of speakers, that's what's next. Yeah, Melissa, it's a special battery. So this one is a Keep Power. I'm trying to put it as close to the screen as I can. This is an 18650, 3120 milliamp hours, and it's got a 15 amp cutoff. You can see it's max 15 amp continuous discharge current. And they're protected cells. We use protected cells in lightsabers. A lot of people want to cheap out and buy cheap batteries, and lightsabers, that can be bad. So I don't know if I'm going to do this one under scope or just do it right here in front of the camera, because the scope is really a pain in my butt. Let's do this one right in front of the camera. So I'm going to get my speaker and I'm going to grab it in my helping hands. And I've got one of the pads up that I'm going to use. And now I'm going to strip some speaker wire. Is Jeff keeping up with our time here? Where are we at? I'm using 30 gauge PTFE here. I know not everybody likes PTFE. It's a personal thing for me. I like it better. Yeah, I love your saber design, Melissa. I'm looking forward to you getting it in your grubby hands. I may get on there and comment on that thread. I think they need to stick with the illuminated switch for you. I realize they're thinking, well, you need something that's more tactile, but I kind of disagree. Oh, God, you're going to see my shaky hands here. Let me get my hemostats out. It's at the end of the day. My hands are shaky. I've been working on the house all day, still trying to get settled, come in for the kill. Alrighty. One speaker wire attached. And you don't want to move that around a lot because there's a bunch of glue on there that's all screwy. Sometimes I'll put a dab of hot glue. Ooh, I don't want it hold like that there. Sometimes I'll put a dab of hot glue on the end of the speaker when I twist the wires, and that kind of gives you some stress release on those joints. But I don't think I'm going to do that on this saber. Yeah, it'll have an audible. It's a tactile switch. I'm kind of thinking that what they're going to do, Melissa, is they're thinking about using just a straight, which I'll have to talk to Scarecrow, but I think they're talking about using a latching switch, and I really hope not. I'm all for the illuminated switch. Oh yeah, man, this is a lot of fun. I mean, I love coming on here and talking to y'all. And right now, you know, I can't do this every week because then I won't get to talk to you guys. Because part of the fun for me is getting to talk to you guys. When I'm sitting here buried in the soldering thing, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm soldering. Oh, my shaky hands! Don't make that a cold joint. You did. If your hands are shaking when you're soldering, that'll lead to a cold joint. And so you're going to have to reflow the solder, and you're going to have to hold very still while the solder solidifies to make sure you don't get a cold joint. That joint still doesn't even look that great, but it's a speaker. I can go back and fix it up later. So then, once we get the helping hands out of the way, so once the speaker is wired like that and all the wires are still hot, I'll go ahead and give them a twist. And I'm twisting speaker wires. I'm not so sure you need tactile feedback, Melissa. So, you know, my first Kylo Ren saber I put, because basically when you're wearing a Kylo Ren helmet, when I'm in costume for the 501st Legion, you're basically like blind and you destroy your peripheral vision. And, you know, my first trooping saber, I actually put illuminated switches on because I couldn't find the little tactile buttons because I couldn't see them. So I actually used illuminated switches on that first, on my trooping saber, and it was so I could see the buttons. And okay, so now the speaker is wired. Like I said, normally, you know, you can take a dab of hot glue and pin it there to give the wire some relief. I'm not going to do that tonight. Where is my chassis? Let's run the speaker wires in through here. So I'm running the speaker wires into my chassis. And then we're going to put the speaker into the chassis loosely. And then I'll run those speaker wires. I'll glue this in later. I'm not going to glue this in tonight. I'm just trying to get to a certain point here so I can talk to you guys. But at any rate, there you go. So there is our PL Saber chassis pretty much wired and ready to go. We've wired our Shtok connector, and I'm going to bring that back in because I don't want to fully assemble this tonight because I need to clean this up with a Q-tip. But basically what's going to happen is this connector is going to sit inside of this, and this is what mounts inside the Saber. And there's a retention screw that holds in that mount. But then also, because these are short pins, because this one's for a thin neck Saber, this, and man, these things are a bitch trying to figure out how they go on, but it goes on like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this on, and what this little piece of plastic does is it diffuses the neopixels coming out of there a little bit. So I'm going to have to glue that on, and then I'm going to have to glue the whole assembly into this, and then I'll install it in the actual lightsaber, and then I'll run the wires into the chassis, and we'll be ready to install. So then next week, hopefully after I do the demonstration stuff, then we can go the following, what we'll do is we'll write the config file for the Saber together. We'll do it together. I'll show you all how I do it, and you can follow along with me. And then after that, the next Megtooth Monday Live we'll put the prophy in this thing, we'll program the prophy, and we'll put it in this chassis that we've set up tonight, and the secret PL Saber will be good to go. All right, so I'm going to set all this to the side now, because I think we're done there. And I'm going to go back and let's go to a Windows share, because I wanted to show y'all something. There's Fernando. Let's see. There's Fernando. So while I'm changing scenes here, stand by. Let me give you Fernando's audio and take away mine. And go back to Fernando. And I think I'm on Windows share, but I want to make sure I am. We'll go back to Fernando.
If you haven't seen prior,
and maximize that so you guys continue watching that while I'm changing scenes.
and now it also takes away the need for buttons for drag and melt. So I'm going to demo all that. So I've actually already activated battle mode. So with this profile, if you use the swing on, you're going to enter battle mode. While in battle mode, if you hit an object or your opponent's lever and pull away, it's going to do a clash motion. But if you hit the object and stay still, they'll actually do lockup until you pull away. So I'm only going to do it with a single saber for now. But so you clash and pull away, and that's going to, if you hit and pull away, it's going to be essentially the.
All right, I'm back. Let me get caught up on chat really quick.
Like that.
Can you do a magnetic speaker connection and pogo pins? Yes, you can do that.
But if you keep it relatively in the same spot,
Melissa's watched videos on the Golden Harvest. Where do you get that plastic for the short pogo pin connector? That actually came with a chassis, Adrian, from Robert Sotomayor.
Essentially the lockup thing. So no buttons, no need to worry about buttons now. It's all gesture controlled and bottom.
I don't have Scare
so in addition to that
Pro.
now, I've also
I see why the plans changed for the Switch.
So typically in your normal
or Fernando, yeah, Fernando is on the TRA right now.
But if you're battling
in Dark Saber Hell,
you would block down low. So
I actually read some of his posts.
Down low. You're also going to want.
Oh well, I'm not going to catch up on everything. I guess kind of one of the most important things I want to say is it's very important to read the instruction manual. So tonight what we did is we actually set Shtok Pixel Connector up in V4, and the reason is I want the NeoPixels to actually, I'm going to lower this thing a little bit so I'm kind of down on y'all's level. I want the NeoPixels, hello, you're in my face now. And now the electric trash can open.
You can also use melt.
Hey, stop opening.
Melt is also going to be gesture.
The wire's causing this thing to open. But hopefully, that's a little bit better. And you can see the mess on the bench behind me from tonight. But
take it away from the wall or the object, it'll actually deactivate. And it's, again, no buttons with battle mode. Battle mode is supposed to be as realistic.
Yeah, I got that from Robert Sotomayor.
How you move the saber and gesture.
Oh, audio no bueno.
And I've got everything dialed in. So the drag and melt actually similar motions to clash and lockup, but they're
audio should be bueno now. Dang it! Now I got to redo all that. Stand by. Had to mute the. Yeah, sorry about the audio delay. So this is the instructions on what we did tonight, and we actually did the V4 connector. And yeah, the delay I can't do anything about, Jeff. It was about a minute delay. Oh Lord, is it loud? I can turn that down. That a little bit better, less loud. I turned the volume down a little bit. But yeah, we did the V4 connector. And basically when you do it the V4 way, the accent pixels on the outside of the connector are actually independent of your main blade. And there's only one blade style I do that for. A lot of people can run those sub blades. There's a gazillion different ways you do it. That's just the way I do it in my sabers when I use these things. I don't always use stock lit connectors. I just don't. They're expensive. They're cool, but if I want an illuminated blade plug, normally I just pop some NeoPixels in a blade plug and call it a day. But the lit connectors are cool in that you can just drop any blade plug in there and it works. But at any rate, that was kind of a crazy nighttime. So what my plans are for the next little bit here, what I want to do is on these Monday live videos, I think next week we're going to demonstrate some of Kyberphonics fonts, and that'll give me a chance to stretch my wings a little bit in this room. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And that's agua. That's agua. No brew tonight. I'm drinking water. It's just water. For whatever reason, that thing keeps having issues tonight too. But Let's go back to the stream and make sure that it's on there. Yeah, it's water. It's water. Yeah, my internet's still having some issues. It's got some intermittent. It's going on and off. They got some issues in my neighborhood still post Isaias, Hurricane Isaias did a lot of damage to Spectrum's infrastructure, and they keep putting patches on it instead of fixing it, and it causes us to have internet outages all the time. But yeah, what I want to do in the following weeks is I think next Monday we'll do a demonstration video of some of Jesse Kirkbride's sound fonts, and I'm going to load up my Saber with a bunch of his sound fonts and demo those. And then I think after we do that, you know, if we still got time left, we'll jump in and write the config for this PL Saber that we're building for somebody special. And you know, that way you guys can see how I author a config, how I start, and which programs I use, and which websites I use, and you know how I figure it out, and how I name my fonts and all that kind of stuff. So it would be pretty cool. Oh, it's right there, Israel. It is right there. So I had to order. There's your Saber. So I had to order a template for the grips, Israel. The grips that go on the aft end of the Saber. I need a template to put those on, and I had to order that template. So that's kind of the tune-up right now. Hey, Michael Dallin. When this one publishes, you may want to go back and watch it because I did quite a bit of tutorial stuff tonight live. And how do I remove the excess flux? No, alcohol wipes won't damage anything. Alcohol is a gentle enough solvent. That's actually what I use. I use isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips. And if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do that. So tonight, you know, at the end of the thing, I'll have to clean up that Shtok connector and get all the isopropyl off of it. And Melissa, what I was trying to say, Melissa, and I got distracted, is my first Kylo Ren lightsaber. When we're in uniform, in costume for the 501st Legion, especially as Kylo Ren, your visibility is really limited or non-existent out of the helmet. And so my first Kylo Ren saber, I actually put illuminated switches on it because I couldn't feel where the switches were at. And the illuminated switches, they're bright enough that you can see them and it kind of guides your hand down there. And I know that you have limited vision in your one eye, but I was thinking with that limited vision, that illuminated connection. Guys, this is my internet connection. I hate Spectrum. I want Spectrum to die. I just want Spectrum to die. I know we're going to need to end this soon anyway, but yeah, Spectrum needs to die. I hate Spectrum. Every time I have an internet outage, it's Spectrum. And if you guys hear me cussing Spectrum, that's why. I had something else I wanted to show you guys, and it just kind of fell apart. So I'm trying to put it back together. And this is part of Profi OS 5.0 testing. Michael, I did a lot of Maker channel. I did a lot of, you may want to watch this one when it publishes. So when I publish these live videos, sometimes they don't get published on my channel till like a day later, you know, almost 20 hours after I film them. But you may want to go watch this one after it publishes because I actually did some live soldering under the scope tonight. SMD resistors and set up a Shtok NeoPixel connector. But it was actually a pretty big show tonight, so hopefully you can go back and watch that. But I wanted to show you guys this monstrosity. This is a Teensy 4.0 and an audio shield. And this is some of the experimentation going on within Profi OS, the new 5.x. And I'm going to be putting these puppies together and programming them with Profi OS. Yeah, it's because my internet's screwed. I'll get on there and I hate Spectrum. I'm sick of doing that tonight. Every time my internet goes down, I have to reconnect the camera. I'm so sorry that's going on, guys. Spectrum is absolutely horrible. I'm really sorry about the lag on audio and video. And, you know, it's a good time to shut down tonight, and hopefully we can get this damn internet fixed once and for all. But this is internet problems tonight. Hopefully the rest of it came out good. And I don't think it's YouTube, Adrian. I'm pretty sure it's my internet here at the house. We've been having issues all day. It seemed like it cleaned up here this evening. And, you know, now it's having problems. It just keeps intermittently disconnecting. And that's what it was doing earlier today. And it's a Spectrum issue. So we got hit by Hurricane Isaias in late July, early August, right when we were moving. And a lot of Spectrum's infrastructure on our street was damaged by fallen trees, and they haven't fixed it yet. And by the way, Melissa, I know that, you know, Hurricane Sally also hit the Florida Panhandle and Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi. I wasn't trying to cut Florida out. I was just talking about Georgia last week because I have a lot of family in coastal Alabama down there on the coast. They were actually in the bullseye. They had their power still out, and they had, you know, some damage to their house, but they're all alive, so good news for them. Yeah, well, could be COVID, but I think it's more along the line of it's stuff here. But at any rate, we're getting ready to wind this thing up before we get another internet outage. But thank you guys for coming along for the ride tonight. I may have COVID. Yeah, I mean, once my internet comes back on, Cole, it's really good. So, like, when it starts getting laggy and the video and the audio lags, my internet's getting ready to go kaput. And then when it goes kaput, I lose video and I have to reset the camera. I had to do that a couple times tonight. It was really crappy. Interrupted a lot of cool stuff in the vid. But hopefully that stuff comes out. I think tonight's video was pretty good. It's kind of an example of what I kind of want to do going forward. And we'll leave this stuff out there. But it was great to see you guys, and I do miss talking to you. That's the bad part about being back on the bench and soldering is, you know, I miss out on talking to you. I get behind on the chat. But I wanted to make sure that everybody, you know, gets a chance to do some of this stuff. Oh yeah, that's crazy, Cole. I actually rehearsed all this tonight several times before I went live, and it was a little crazy with the camera changes. So sometimes if I put Fernando's videos on or something like that, it's just network time killer while I'm changing cameras. And I appreciate y'all being patient with me when all that's going on, but I do miss talking to you guys. I mean, part of the fun of these live videos to me was actually interacting with you guys, but it's kind of cool to put something out there that may help somebody along. You know, somebody wiring up one of these Shtok connectors or a chassis. Hopefully they got some, you know, good stuff tonight. That's awesome, Melissa. You're going to get knighted soon. I hope you get knighted with your Saber. And I'm excited for you to get your Saber. I know Fernando wasn't with us tonight because Fernando's currently building his Dark Saber, and he is in TRA hell with some of the builders and trying to figure out how to put his Saber together. And I do follow Space Windu. That's awesome. That's awesome, Melissa. I really haven't been on the internet a whole lot lately. I come on Monday nights to do these live videos, and I, you know, check messages, and that's pretty much about it. But Israel, I'll get you pictures of your Saber as soon as I can. This internet outage has been killing me in all my spare time, but I want to thank everybody for watching tonight and tuning in every week. You know, I appreciate all y'all do when you're joining in on these conversations and watching these videos, and hopefully y'all get something from them. So until next week, at the same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll do some demonstrations of some cool fonts. We will see you guys next week, and may the force be with you all. You can do localized flash also. I like the full flash on flash. That's why you see it. So I